If you are wavering at the top, you're going to look down. No, you're going to look down, and there's going to be nobody to catch you, man. Because if you're wavering as the leader of the ship, why the fuck would I get on that ship, sail across the ocean with you if you're not sure that there's land and we only got so much food?
Man, am I excited for this show. We talk about sincere enthusiasm, integrity, communication skills, how key loyalty is, and lastly, decisiveness. Because if you're an aspiring entrepreneur, you're a leader, you're just in the game, these are things you have to pay attention to. So whether or not you want to be a leader and you're going to look at this, whether or not you're already in a position, you should look back to make sure you're doing these things. Personal stories, heartfelt responses, like these are the things that make Business and Biceps what it is. I cannot wait for you guys to get into this show. Man, let's go. What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Business and Biceps. And you better wake your ass up, because on today's show, we're going to go over what we think are some important traits of a business person that you should aspire to, or if you're already in the game, what you should be looking at yourself so make sure that you are doing. And I think that the insight of the great John Fosco and the amazing Maurice, my co-hosts, will add so much value with personal stories, with things that they do as people are looking to them for guidance in business. And we're really excited to share this with you guys. And of course, you got to make sure you subscribe because we're climbing the charts. We hit number 6 in business out of all of iTunes this week, which was unbelievable. And we appreciate that. Make sure you leave us a positive comment, a 5-star review, and just make sure you do not leave us hanging by just hitting play. You must subscribe. It's brought to you guys by Robinhood. Just an amazing app for trading. Biceps.robinhood.com. If you download the app and go to that URL, they're going to give you a free share of stock of Apple, Ford, or Sprint. Like, who's giving you free stock other than Robinhood? Like, that's an unbelievable promo. Make sure you guys take advantage of that. And of course, our boy Mike Scola at Boston Sword and Tuna. We want to give you guys 15% off at BIZ, BIZ, 15 at checkout when you go to bst.seafood.com and you can get a lobster. Shop.bst. Sorry, Mikey. Look, lobster out of the water, into the box, straight to your house, 15% off. Mike, I'm going to give you one more time. Shop.bstseafood.com. I bought 10 pounds of salmon there. You think I would know the URL. Sorry, Mikey. You guys got to make sure and support Mike. He was a listener turned into one of the sponsors, which is amazing. Now, I'd like to bring my homies on, Maurice Clarett and John Fosco. How we doing today, guys?
I'm doing good, man. I feel like Cory Gregory. I woke up at 4 a.m. this morning, and I got my mind right. Legit. I got my mind right. I do not know if it's because we've had a week off, and I'm really looking forward to just sharing some time with you guys and chopping up some thoughts. But got to read this morning, and I'm feeling good. How about you, Mo?
I'm feeling phenomenal. I'm energetic. I got up this morning like Cory Gregory. Yeah. So I didn't hit the gym already. I done knocked out a few conference calls. Business is rolling. Life is rolling. Family is happy. Had a great day yesterday. And I just fucking feel great. I ate like shit. That was the only bad thing yesterday. So I'm feeling bad about that. But other than that, man, my life is great. I can't complain, won't complain. I'm living like my dream, so I'm good.
Man, I love that. So, hey, John, you think it's because you're still on East Coast time that you woke up at 4, or did you intentionally, last episode was intention. Yeah. John, did you intentionally wake up at 4? That's what I want to know.
So here's what's been happening. Like, progressively, I've been waking up earlier. So I normally wake up about 6:30. I'd say the last month I've been waking up at 6, and now I just wake up at 4 or 5, and as opposed to going back to bed, I stay awake. And When I stay awake, I call it, I call it like black time. When you have your like black time, no one's awake. I mean, you know this, Cory, you talk about
Yeah.
it all the time, but there's a sense of peace that you can only get at that time.
Yep.
And I really enjoy it. And I've gotten back to, pre-market trading. And I've also gotten back to just my old school foundational reading. Yeah.
Nice. John, I think we're rubbing off on you a little bit. Even though I know you were doing a lot of this stuff at night, I still think that starting the day that way, not ending it, I don't know why, it just feels better.
There's a piece, yeah.
Well, I just want to like to call it momentum, you know, and just taking time, just personal time. I've seen a video, and Cory, I think I sent it to you, where Damon John was talking about it, and he was just talking about you get up and you give yourself to everybody else. And now, we've talked about this previously, but he said, and I've heard plenty of people say it, but just getting up every day, giving yourself to everybody. And then, by the time you turn 45, 50, 60 years old, your kids are old, you've realized that you've given your life to everybody else but yourself. And I just think that when you wake up at the top of the morning and you just start to, discover yourself and refine yourself and refine your discipline, and you've had time to spend time with your vision and where's John going? Where's my life going? Where are these things going? And I think when you're just refining yourself and working on the small things, I just think that it's just something that builds momentum and just brings clarity to my day. Hopefully it brings the same thing to yours, John.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I like the momentum idea, Reese. I don't think I've ever had it explained like that. I think that's the way I'm gonna steal that from you. But here's the
bunch
first,
of your shit.
Here's the first thing I want to start with, John, is I believe we're talking about traits, we're talking about things that leaders do, people want to aspire to or want to understand. And I think if there's a leader inside of the business, whatever business you're involved in, either or whether you're starting it, that literally bare bones, number one, there has to be, I think, for it to be infectious, a true, sincere enthusiasm for the person leading the charge. And I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on that, if you're starting a business or you're inside of a business, and then if you have any personal stories on how you saw that, as a guy growing up in the system.
Yeah, what I would say is, if you want to lead in business or you want to lead a large group of people, I believe you have to be action-based. I believe there are action-based people and there are words-based people. I think people who base what they believe on in words and not action, those people will struggle when it comes time to lead people. Those who lead with action, those who speak with clarity, those who enunciate, those who keep the proper body posture, those who look you in the eye, that is the makings, right, of a leader. They just do all the little things through action that everyone else kind of is like, oh, okay, that's how a leader talks. That's how a leader walks. That's how a leader works. And then ultimately, I believe, beyond doing all those little things through action correctly, I believe a true leader is willing to do the bottom of the rung job all the way to the top at any time, and he or she never feels they're good to do that ever. That's my take.
Yeah, when it comes to sincere enthusiasm, as he was sitting here talking, I can only, I can think of coaches I've come by and how it's worked in sports. But for the purpose of this, when we're talking about business and biceps, I can only refer to myself. And I think that what we do at the Red Zone, I think a lot of our growth and the ability to attract the people that we attract has come from just my personal sincere enthusiasm in regards to what I'm doing. And I just make the example of, when we first getting started and you have, a 500 square foot space, and you have people who have, master's degrees and bachelor's degrees, and people who have been in industries and have the opportunity to go to larger other social services or other mental health and drug and recovery centers. I think a lot of them a lot of the buy-in came from just me passionately speaking about what it was that we wanted to do and just being enthusiastic about it. Because when you begin to talk about why you do what you do, or when I began to talk about why I was doing what I wanted to do, when I related my personal life into mental health and drug and alcohol struggles, like people realize why they got into the business to do the stuff that they wanted to do. And just like as a takeaway for a person either starting a business or being in business, if you can connect what you're doing to your personal story and you're excited about it and you can articulate it and you can transfer that energy or that feeling that you have inside of you, and you can spark people from the initial time when you get into the office, from you being into the room, and you're just rocking and rolling from a leadership standpoint, that's what essentially gets people to follow you, because they're like, okay, this guy's excited about something. I want to feel that inherent feeling. I want to be as excited about what it is that he's invested in as he or she is. And I know there's a lot of women who listen to the podcast because they'll hit me up on Instagram like, hey, enjoy what you're doing. So either man or women, when you're leading something, I just think it's a strong and it's a great quality. And like, who doesn't want to be around an enthusiastic person? Everybody is attracted to the person who's excited about the work that they're doing, if they're in that field or if they're in that space. One person I think about, I follow, what is his name? Richard Bronson on Instagram. And every time I see this dude, he's smiling, you know what I'm saying? And I don't have nothing to do with Virgin Mobile, or I don't even understand all of what he does. But, the fact that he's always smiling, he's happy talking about what he's doing, I just think from a leadership standpoint, I just would like to believe that that's attractive. And I think that you attract people in good spirit. And when they're in good spirit and they're coming to you, it's a whole lot easier to do kind of what you were talking about, John, to get them to do the trivial work. Like when you attract people from an enthusiastic standpoint, nothing becomes trivial. The vision and what we're getting accomplished becomes the main thing. Not like, hey, I have to take out the trash, or I have to do this trivial thing. Like I'm invested into it. And I think a lot of that starts sort of like in that enthusiastic space to get people to even follow you. It's like the quarterback who runs out on the field and he's like, man, you know what? We're ready to kick these dudes' ass. You know what I mean? And he's the leader, you know what I'm saying? So you're like, okay, that's how our leader feels. That's how we got to feel, because, he's the guy leading the ship on offense. And that's just my small take on it,
Yeah, Cory, real quick, the one thing I would say is I think leaders are effective in a Bill Belichick kind of way, and also in a Richard Branson kind of way.
Yes.
Right? A Bill Belichick kind of way is like, you will never question that I know what I'm doing, because my actions speak and my mouth doesn't ever need to open.
Yes.
So people want to follow that, because they believe that if there's anybody in the world that's going to keep them safe, that's going to lead them to the promised land, it's Yoda. It's the Bill Belichick type. And then there's Richard Branson, who is infectious. That type of guy is infectious, and he will make you believe in what he is saying. He will make your eyes open. He will make your jaw drop, and he will make you say, where do I sign? How do I follow? Yeah, I think there's different kinds, and enthusiasm is rooted in different personalities, but that's kind of how I see it. Yep.
I always used to say, like, because personal training was where everything was based for me early, is that no one wants to be around somebody that is looking ho-hum. Oh, well, I don't want to do this. This is a fucking task. This don't look fun. Like, fucking no one wants to be around that, right? So Rachel used to tell me all the time, like, people want to be at the gym because they can tell you care if they get, an extra squat set. You care if they lost 1 pound. They know that you love what you do, right? I don't even think, like, if I think back, right, as the 20-year-old personal trainer, I didn't know dick. Like, honestly, like, I'm like, hey, I wasn't as bad as John. If you listen to John's story about how the dude broke his shoulder and he was told him to throw a baseball or whatever. Hey, But you were but Johnny, you were a sales guy, right? I was still a trainer.
I'm still a sales guy, baby.
So basically, but if I look back to like literally the 19-year-old kid at my gym right now, like motherfucking Kyle knows more than I knew when I had my own business. So I knew the intangible was the enthusiasm because I didn't have the backup of the knowledge yet, because I was thrown into business so young. And so I have led with that literally my entire career. And I think the key is I understood that about myself so early that when I'm not doing something that I'm enthusiastic about, I can feel that my momentum actually is not as great. And so I believe that if I continue, like here's a good example, right? At Max Up for Muscle, I love doing the videos for the deals, right? Once we got onto that part of our culture, and I swear to you, if you work with us, like you can see as soon as I hit that door and I know it's time to do a video, like I'm smiling ear to ear. I can't wait for us to creatively go over it. You know, John doing the Dom Fosco out west and the things he was doing with his guys too. And like, I get excited about that. And so like to Reese's point, we're going over, we got the camaraderie, we're talking, there's enthusiasm, boom. Then it's like, hey, the website needs this. Hey, we got to stock shelves. Ain't no one complained about that because they just got done for 20 minutes, 30 minutes of that fun, that enthusiastic, that culture mentality. And I think when the leader displays that, it's so much easier to follow because it's true. Back to Reese's point last week, nothing truth can be. What is the point, Reese, you always say?
Nothing real can be threatened.
There you go.
Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists.
So sincere enthusiasm is that. Like, look, there's a guy, you know, we took the old school guys to a meet. One of the dudes straight up beat my deadlift on the board that was there for years. I was the first dude that went over and gave him a high five. And he hit me with a text later. He said, you actually wanted me to get that day. It wasn't like, oh, I hope Kyle gets close but don't get it. No, I said, look, I wanted you to get it and now I want to beat you. Like, it is sincere and real, and that's why I think it goes. So I think that whatever you're aspiring to be, if you're in your wheelhouse, you have to bring that because motherfuckers know. They just know.
I'll add on to that, Cory. As you were talking, I'll say this. I think even enthusiasm, I think spurs creativity.
Yes.
So when you're enthusiastic, and let me take it a step further, or let me take a step backward where it came from. I read in a book one time that life is imagination. You're living when you're dreaming because you're creating, you're visualizing, and you're bringing things into the world that don't necessarily exist. You're dreaming and you're trying to discipline yourself to get on the path to create that. And they say that's what basically human beings, that's what we are. Everything is a creation. Everything is an idea. And sort of being like in this miserable sort of remember when space, that's when, you know, that's kind of like the hamster on a wheel. You're not living because you're not creating, you're not chasing, you're not doing anything. Makes sense, you know what I'm saying? And so, and so when you're enthusiastic and people are feeling good, and like you said, when you come in, you create the videos, you're talking about possibilities. I think at that point you're tapping into a higher level of people's consciousness, where it's about what can we do to grow, to go. And I think when you stay in that space of consciousness and people are living and they're creating and their ideas are validated and they're able to be seen, it's a whole lot easier to say, fuck, I can come to work because I'm valued as a person. My opinion is valued. My thoughts are valued. And this shit in a relationship, you know, when you're enthusiastic in your household and you're open and you're, what do you want to do? And how are we going to live and how are we going to create? And what music are we playing? And is it upbeat? And are we, you know what I'm saying? So much of that stuff, I just think it plays in. And if you're a leader and leading people, and even if you're a football team, basketball team, the leader of your crew, if you lifting the weights, the dude who's the leader at Best Buy or fucking even Kroger, it doesn't matter. You can dictate your environment based upon enthusiasm. And when people come with weak ass, you know, bullshit, gossip stories, TMZ shit, like shut it down and you know what I'm saying, just enthusiastically talk about, you know, what needs to be accomplished.
Going off Maurice, you know, when you're talking about enthusiasm, you know, creativity, dreaming, and being a leader, I think that enthusiasm for the future is paramount, right? Because when you get a bunch of guys with a common goal in a room, The future is the great unknown. The future is the what if. The future is, guys, if we do this correctly, this could happen. So the future is always unknown, but that's something that you can always use to motivate, because anything is possible. And like Maurice said, it is a dream. So the future is a tool to get people to believe. Does it come true all the time? No. Does it come true sometimes when you put in the work? Absolutely. So when you get people forward looking, I think amazing things happen as a team.
Well, shit, look what we do. Look what we're doing right now. What Business and Biceps is that right now? Right?
100%.
Go ahead, bro.
You know what they said? Oh, I read this earlier this week, right? So I've been trying to kick y'all ass for real.
This motherfucker. Hey, John's getting up 4 hours earlier. He's reading. Maurice is trying to fit it in. Look, the competition right now.
Hey, Mo, I
love it.
I haven't even brought out the art of war yet, baby. So let's go.
I love it. Go ahead.
But I read this week that they said your future is inside of you, and it's your responsibility to develop it and bring it out of you. And the discipline you implement on your life allows for possibility to become ability. Like the discipline that you implement inside your life allows you to manifest whatever vision that you have inside of you. And as you're sitting here talking about future, he kept on talking about the future is inside. And we have to, like he said, he made an example of, he said, the force is inside the seed. You plant the seed is inside of you, it manifests the force. And he says, as you look in and as you water that seed, and he said the discipline, the simplicity of working in that space. And I don't know how we got here off of enthusiasm, but I just wanted to speak to what you were talking about the future. And these futures, just like when you think of max effort muscle, business and biceps, these things are inside of our minds, and the discipline we have into creating them is life. Right. And the simplicity and knocking out the distractions and staying like in line with what it is that's inside of us. If that make any sense, am I explaining it right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it makes a lot of sense. I think that what we all are experiencing is this right now in this project, with it being B&B, like every time John and I talk, or Mo and I talk, or on our group text, we're looking forward to the time when we get the tape. Like, I think that's like truly, because nobody started doing this podcast to make money. The enthusiasm is because of what it brings to us personally, what it brings to our listeners, what it's like, because it is therapy. If we are getting to work through topics, we're getting to learn from each other. And I think like looking forward to something, right, at that level, and when you're in a leadership role, I think is everything. Because I mean, that's the thing is like, when I read this topic, I actually feel that way about what's going on in this very moment. Like there's nothing, look, this is what I was excited about doing today.
No, you're exactly Cory, you're exactly right. And I got to tell you, I don't normally wake up at 4. When I woke up at 4, the first thing I thought about was how excited I was to do what we are doing right now. So I think you just spoke the truth, and I think you made a great point.
Perfect. All right, so let's move on to, look, we have a few of these. We're gonna get through a few of them, and then we might have to go part 2. But I think next one is, look, everybody can follow the guy that has the vision, that's enthusiastic. But once you start working with the individual, or once you are that individual, all the way from the bottom up to the top as you're growing, the integrity of how you operate is I think there's people that get ahead that do not have integrity, but I think it's short term, right? I think the long term is in integrity from square A all the way to Z. Johnny, why don't you riff on that for a second?
Oh man, yeah.
You're like the OG Italian integrity guy that I know. Well, so I can't wait.
Two things pop in my mind. The first is just a word, right? Just a word. Consistency. Okay, that's the first thing that pops in my mind, consistency. From there, I always say this, and I will apply it to leadership and business. A good deal There's only one kind of good deal. It's where both sides win. So if I'm a leader and I employ you, if you're not winning with the salary I pay you, that's not a good deal. And that deal will not last. And you will either go one way or the other, but you will probably not be a part of this organization. So a good deal, both sides has to win. So if we're going to promote somebody, okay, they have to be in line for that promotion. And if they are in line for that promotion, we can't skip other people that have put their time in, that have similar skill sets. Like, we have to always operate with the understanding that we are not trying to get one over on those that we have more power than. That as a leader, the most important quality is that we understand if we want to have longevity leading people, we have to operate fairly. And to just sum it all up, operating fairly as a leader in business is understanding that every deal you hypothetically make, both sides win on.
Like it. Good, Mo.
Yeah. Excuse me. When I was going to speak about integrity, I like slowing things down and making them personal to me. Just because I just believe like I only do well by just trying to make a story of something. And we can talk about integrity in 1,000 different ways. And I think I've never even heard somebody say or mention consistency with integrity, but I would 100% agree with it. And just being an integrable person, just to hell with leadership, just an integrable person. I think it brings a sense of peace and confidence to your life. Because you're not lying. You're not, like you say, being inconsistent in different areas. You're not, I don't have to be, Maurice Claret, this guy to Cory, and then Maurice Claret at home. Who I am in front of them and outside of them are just basically, who I am and what it is that I'm representing as an individual. And I'll just tell you, one of the biggest things with me, like, when I was going around, I was doing a tremendous amount of speaking, and, I'm building a mental health and recovery center, and I would have times in the process of doing it where I would relapse and I would just basically fuck up myself, and I would just get back and I go on a walk with myself and I say, man, Reese, what are you doing? You fucking up. You're not living what you're preaching. You're not living what you're talking, and nothing felt dirtier than being in a position to help and to lead and to have a sense of integrity with people, but to be out of line with myself. You know what I'm saying? And this goes this is just a behavioral thing, that if you're not committed in every area, you're not committed in no area. And I say that to say this. I seen how just my lack of integrity from what I was doing in regards to drinking, how it spilled over into my personal relationship, how it spilled over into things I was just basically supposed to follow through. And when I kind of got all that shit in order at the same time, I started having so much success and just being more committed to myself and being the person that I knew I was supposed to be. And you can have situational integrity, and you can have it sometimes, and you can fool, like I said, you can fool some of the people some of the times, but you can't fool all of the people all of the times. And I think when it comes back to integrity, it's just saying, hey, this is who I'm supposed to be. This is the best person. This is Maurice with my best mind, my best behavior, and this is who I am in every circumstance, in every situation, despite who's around. And when you can consistently be that person all the way across the board, I just think, one, it takes a tremendous amount of discipline, but your life elevates. And that old saying, I can walk past the mirror and look at myself and be happy with who I am, like, it rings so fucking true. Like, I walk around with so much confidence because there's nothing to hide. There's nothing to get away from. There's nothing to be slippery about. Like John said, I don't have one-sided deals with people. And just the way I live my life, I feel like a fucking man all the way through. And so, I don't wake up, wondering like, hey, is this person going to find out that, or do I have to hide this secret? Like, fuck, I know people have heard it before, but I am who I am, and I love it. And I think that's one of the most freeing things. When you have integrity, you free yourself from any sort of bondage with anybody. But I just related my personal story. But just please understand this. Like if you lack integrity, like, like just like this, like I don't never trust guys who cheat on their girls. You know what I'm saying? Because if you'll cheat on a person who lay down with you, like shit, if we get in business, you'll fuck me too. You know what I'm saying? But it's just the smallest things. Those small things end up being big things, and it's just a way of thinking. Like like I don't have to do the right thing in this situation because nobody would know. But getting those things in check and keeping those things in check, and being that person and having that discipline, I think those things are what separate. But the process of doing that is what refines you and makes you stronger as an individual, because you're overcoming just personal distractions and barriers to basically become who you're supposed to become.
Yeah, real quick, Cory.
Yeah, you're good.
Mo said, having to do things, and I agree. It is not about, I believe, having to do anything. It's about what kind of person do I want to be. It's not what do I have to do. It's I want to be this kind of person, so I behave this kind of way. I'm consistent. I have integrity. But just to a lot of people out there, they say, oh, what do I have to do? Man, you don't have to do shit. You don't have to do, bro, you don't have to do shit. Who do you want to be? And act accordingly. If you want to be a scumbag, liar, go do that. You can live that life. See where it gets you. But you don't have to do anything. But it's about who you want to be.
I think when I think about integrity, I think of a few things, guys. I think trustworthy, I think intentions, and I think, like John said, who you want to be. Like, I never wanted to be the guy that had to rap that's like, oh, you don't want to fuck with him because he's trying to get – no. Like, I always wanted to be in that role that, like, if you get on board with that guy or his business, like, he's going to teach, he's going to do right by you. He's going to, now there's a difference between entitlement and right by you, right? So there's been some situations like that before, but at the end of the day, I always act with, no matter who I'm getting in business with. I talked to John about this a lot. I know we had an episode on it. Like, I got up every day in my old business to try to make, the most sales and the best thing for the shareholders, and every day I answered everything, more tweets, this, that, and did everything possible in my like wheelhouse to do everything, every job I've ever had or every business I've ever started. I give myself my own job, so that's the wrong way to say it. But every business I've ever been in is that my intention is to make everybody better, to try to do as much as I can. Like, I've never been one to like sit on my hands and hold back that or do like, I look at like, how can the guy that I'm on my team with, John Fosco, can trust me that I'm going to do everything in my ability to kill it at max effort. Reese, that you're going to trust that everything I know that as a co-host that I'm going to do. Like, I just look at when I'm in something, I want people to be like, yeah, I can count on that guy. I know he's going to do right by me. And that right there at the end of the day is your word is everything. I mean, it's tied to whether you're an integrable a person. Is integrable a word, Reese, by the way? I think it is. But
it sounds like, even if it isn't,
John, is it a word? Is it a word?
Integral. Integral.
There you go. Okay, good. John's good for that. So it's one of those things where I think it comes back to turn it all the way back. And we've talked about this before. Your word is everything. And if it's tied to a different kind of feeling, and look, some people, jealousy can change how that feeling is about certain people. But for the most part, like, I want when people hear my name to think those other terms: trust, integrity, like leader. I don't want them to think, oh, I don't want to fuck with that guy because of this. Like that's always been my intention when it comes to integrity. The way that I operate, the way I want to be looked at, it's the way I want to be, because then when I lay my head down at night, I'm not thinking of 8 or 10 things like Maurice said, like, hey, I'm walking around, I can see myself in the mirror and I'm okay with what I've done because I've operated that way. And that's kind of what comes to mind for me.
Well, yeah, Cory, real quick, what I want to say is, if you look at real-time examples, me and you. So me and you come together and we have our word. Okay, I'll put out $100,000 to start Max Effort Muscle. I literally,
True
Corey,
statement. True statement.
It's in the bank account the next day. Let's go. There's nothing signed. And what you guys, the listener, have seen develop was rooted in me and Cory coming together, giving each other's word. And here we are today.
Yeah. Hey, always I hear because I look up to Arnold so much, he just straight told me, hey, Jim Lorimer and I, we started the Arnold Classic. It's on every continent now. We did it. It's the 30th year this year. It was our word. I mean, there's just something, it just does. I know it doesn't operate like that all the way.
That's man shit right there.
But that is man shit right there. And I knew, so listen, here's the other thing is, John wrote that check, right? He believed in me. Now, my track record was good. John's track record was good. We have worked together, but not in the same business before. So it's like, I got up that next day and I didn't take that for granted, because could I get $100,000 from a bazillion different people at this point in my career because of what I did before? Of course. But I didn't want it from anyone else. I wanted John Fosco in the business, and then I wanted to show him as a team we got that money back.
I believe in us. I believe in us.
Exactly.
Together.
But I wanted to get up and say, man, I'm glad that guy believed in me and wrote it that easy just on the word. And so that means something to me. It doesn't matter how many millions you've done or what's happened. Like, I still take it down to the base of somebody believing in me, even if it looks more favorable at this time. And it's, at the end of the day, nothing is fucking guaranteed, bro.
Exactly. Exactly.
I was going to talk about how this stuff just spills into your life, though.
Yep.
You know, your fucking credit score is basically a resemblance of your integrity.
Yeah.
You know, somebody giving you money and you paying your money back on time. Somebody fucking giving you something, and do you have the ability to steward what I've given you and give me back? You know, what it is you say. Are you going to come through on your word? Will you pay on time? Do you pay your bills on time? And how you navigate through life in advance and end up getting more loans, or loans for your business or cars or houses or whatever it may be, is rooted just in the integrity of the person. Can somebody trust you?
Absolutely.
And the more people can trust you and the more people see you do good with something, they'll give you more and more and more. But a lot of that shit is just rooted in character and just basic integrity. I can give this guy something. He's going to come back. He's going to be great. This is how we measure it. What is it? Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. You have 3 different governing bodies who give their little rates and ratios. But when it all comes back to it, it's all rooted in the integrity of the person and being able to follow through on what it is that they have done. Right. So I'll give you a quick small example. You know, I have a few people who owe me money, and just how you view them or how you look at them, for them just not doing man shit for avoiding what they want to pay you and everything like that, it just becomes bad, and people look at you like a piece of shit for real. You know, like, man, you just weren't good on your word. Like, everything was great on the initial part of this, but you weren't good. And I'm just saying to the viewer, you just don't want to be a piece of shit. Cory said it in a nice way, but you just don't want to be identified. I'm serious. Yeah. You know, you just don't want to be identified as a person who someone can't depend on, just because it's hard to move through life alone. You need people. You know what I mean? You need community. You need your word to be right. You need people. You need help. You need assistance. And the trust that you build with people is rooted in the integrity of a person. Like, just look at what I said about how somebody may, like, the way I view dudes who cheat on their girls is just like I view a thief. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you cheating on her, my man, like, it's a wrap. Like, you know, I don't stand a chance with you. And so, just like, you never know who's looking at just how you behave and who wants to get next to you in any situation. Like, but if you're that guy who just lives a sloppy life, you know, you have a hard life, you know, moving forward.
Yeah, love Absolutely. It. All right. Good job on that one, guys. I think, so we talked about enthusiasm. We talked about integrity, why you're enthusiastic. Let's talk about communication skills, John. Like, I love the way that you've communicated with the guys that, you know, are at max effort or with the podcast, and just the way that you lay things out, very direct and straight, and but in a business manner. Yeah. Maybe you can kind of, riff on that for us.
Yeah, I mean, like I've stated on previous podcasts, I think the most important word ever created is why. So when we are speaking to anybody, I think any explanation needs to be rooted in, why am I talking about this? Why am I teaching this? Why are we doing this? Once they understand why, then they may not feel like you're pointing as a boss and saying, do this because I have more power than you. So the why to me is at the center of communication. Now, after people understand why they are doing what they're doing, you need to give them an incentive to say, okay, if we do it this way, here's what can come from it. So first it's an understanding, and then it's an actual understanding of what can come from a benefit standpoint. Yeah, go ahead, Cory.
All right. So when I think about communication skills, I think about and I've learned a lot of this from you too, Johnny, is the way that it's almost after setting expectations on what I believe is kind of thrown out there, and then how you operate after that. So, we got a lot of young guys that work with us, Johnny, and it's like I like to say, okay, here's your role. I want you to kind of figure out your own way, and we'll lead as we go, but then communicate through, because, dude, we fuck up still. They're going to fuck up still. And I feel like the best thing I can ever do is if somebody screws something up, you help them understand why, to your point, and then also say, now do we understand that we don't do it again?
Sure.
I just think the biggest thing is communicating that, dude, everybody, no one is fucking perfect. I got a great example of last year's Arnold, right? I'm going to use it. I'm going to put Pontius on blast. So with Arnold Classic, for you guys that don't know, it's the Super Bowl of fitness events, and it's here in Columbus, Ohio, where we're rooted at with Max Effort. And, I had been going there for years, and the previous company I was with, I just walked in. I had kind of forgot of a lot of the stuff because we had got to a certain level. And so, we're back starting over again. And I kept asking Jacob, hey, when we check the pallets in out back, this, that, there's got to be some fees for docking them and this. Nah, man, no, I checked. They're good, right? I was like, so the pallets are free, right? I asked him specifically. He's like, yeah, they're just, and I was like, man, that don't sound right, but okay, man, you got it, right? So I get there, and there was absolutely a charge for the pallets, and it's per pallet, I don't know, 50 or $100 or something like that. And so I went to him, I said, Jacob, it's now $1,000 or $500, whatever the number was, that, and it's not like we can get around it. They just that's just the way it is. You house your stuff there so you can sell it. That's what it costs. You don't get to negotiate it. And it's like, I was like, man, see, this is the key. Like in events like this, especially if I bring it up because I couldn't remember, you have to go through every possible variation to figure out so we know what our exposure is. And so it's been a running joke for me and Jacob ever since last Arnold about the pallets being free. But that's just a good point that when you go through certain business things, that you've got to communicate, we can never make that mistake again. We have to know how much shit, if that's your lane, you have to go through every thing to make sure that it's there and that we never again. So I just think communicating really direct, maybe not as direct as John Fosco, I'm trying to work on that, but I try to do a good job of, letting people roll, and if they screw stuff up, help them through it, and then make sure we never do it again.
Sure.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I would add that I didn't get to throw in before is drawing that clear line like we talk about, and I'll go a little more in depth on personal and business. So you have employees, you have people you lead that you can absolutely adore as human beings. But when you're leading them in a business manner or in anything that's organized, it's not about your feelings regarding them personally. It's simply about the task at hand. So you have to act accordingly. And I believe a lot of people have trouble understanding the fact that if I am talking to you a certain way, or I'm trying to direct you on how to accomplish a certain task, and it's not the same way I talk to you when we are at the restaurant on lunch, it's because this is business and that is personal. And I've even had circumstances where, let's say, I've had to let somebody go. I've had to fire them. To me, that is a practice of business. That has nothing to do with the fact that we're friends, and we can still be friendly. But a lot of people, they just hold it too tight and they blur those lines. So what I'll say to the listener is this, man. If you could draw that line so clearly, number one, you're going to be more successful. You're going to communicate more clearly. You're going to get along more with your leaders. You're going to have more success as a leader. And people will want to emulate what you do. Okay. So that fog right there is something I would encourage everybody to kind of focus on and then try to eliminate it in the best way they can.
But when I think about great communication skills, one of the biggest things that pops out to me was that we created or have been trying to create a culture within what we do of over communicating, and I've told myself that I would rather get on somebody's nerves from over communicating and over talking and over just over communicating and know that I got the thing right, than not to over communicate. And we have a situation where we're paying, $1,000 for pallets, or we've made a mistake and you're actually paying money. You know what I'm saying? And once we have created that culture of over communicating, but also writing everything down, everything gets written down, everything has an agenda, everything has deadlines, everything is task driven, everything is tactical, and everything isn't so loose and easy going anymore. Like when we first started, I've just seen us be able to motor through just tasks like that. And communication isn't just verbal to me. Communication is written. It's how you send emails, how you task emails, how you stay on top of text messages, and always driving communication. But I think anything is just it's two things that I'll put out there, and I don't know everything, but I will say two things that have helped me in regards to what we do. And I think the first one was just creating a culture, and you could do this amongst your friends, business people that you work with, or with anybody. Just over communicate everything, and when communicating, be specific as possible as to when things need to be done, and give deadlines. I think one thing that hinders people a lot is not having the ability to have deadlines aside of what they need to do and when they need to do it. And I think just from a communication standpoint, from a leader standpoint, being able to do that, clearly over communicating and clearly communicating what it is you're doing, and being able to clearly give deadlines, it just helps to just drive projects like it's no tomorrow. And I just wanted to speak from it in regards with that angle.
Well, I've heard Johnny do a good job of this, like in multiple business meetings where he goes, "Hey, I got to put on," like I've heard you do it with Travis and Clay before from an agent standpoint, John. We could be talking about one thing and you go, "Hey, I got to put the agent hat on for a second," so they know what you're about to say next has nothing to do with the John Fosco, Clay Guida friend relationship. It has nothing to do with the John Fosco, Clay Guida, Max Effort relationship. Right. It has everything to do with the relationship of him fighting in the octagon.
Right.
And you having his best interest. Clay, go to fucking camp. Clay, go. Like, I've heard you do that, and I think sometimes when you have to draw the line, because so it's a known fact in the room, it's happened with even you and I before. You're like, "Hey, we got to talk like the stuff, we got to get through the stuff no one wants to do." Right. We got to go, "Hey, Cory and John, personally, we're coming together as business partners. We got to go, hey, what if somebody wants out?" Right. How we got to go through that part of the contract right now. Like, that's the kind of stuff, John, that I think I've learned a lot from you specifically, because you actually voice everybody on the line at that point knows, "Hey, motherfuckers, we're talking about shit that has nothing to do with your feelings right now."
Right.
Like, and that you do a really good job of that, John. So,
yeah, man. I appreciate that. Thank you. And I think that comes from, or at least I hope it comes from, always using the truth as my compass. So I have this rule, right? If you work with people and your job is to advise or guide, you always have to be willing to get fired, right? Because if you're an advisor or someone who guides, the truth is your compass. And a lot of times, whoever you're advising does not want to hear the truth, right? We've all heard the statement, "The truth hurts." So if you are ready to get fired at any moment because the truth is your strongest motivator over pleasing someone with some bullshit, then you are going to be effective at your job. And you will find out if people really don't want what they say they want, right? If someone says they want to be a champion and you tell them straight up, man, you're not moving your head. We got to bring a coach in to teach you how to move your head side to side, up and down, because you're not moving it, and they get defensive, well, then they don't want to be the best. And they are lying to you about what they want. And your job is to get them and assist them on the road to getting what they want. So, long story short, man, if you lead with the truth, if you follow the truth, if you stick with the truth, you're only going to be in authentic places with authentic people, and that's how I choose to live.
Hey, speaking of authentic people, I want to tell you the story about Maurice when I sent him the old Max Effort muscle logo, not the one you guys see now. Hey, right? So John and I, before John came up with the gangsterness to go to who we went to, we had this one little logo we was working on. I sent it to Mo, and his response back was like, hey, like, I know you can do better than this, or hey, this ain't what people are used to. Like, you got the level isn't at what people are gonna expect, or something. Whatever you sent back, I knew it was the truth though.
Listen to me. This is what happened. This is like real. This is real stuff. So I'm trying to clean up the curse words, right? So the real stuff was like how I view him and how I see him. I didn't want him to have a look that would be anything different.
Yep.
Once again, John, nothing real can be threatened. The truth is the truth. And so how I see my friend, I have to tell him the truth. Like, this is like, I get the name, I get who you are, but to be represented in this fashion would not go in line with how I think about you or how the world may think about you. And that was just the truth. And like, John, like you say, we're not dealing with anything emotional in this space. We're just dealing with the truth. And I'm happy you came back with this, because that first one, I don't know who did it. And if you're listening and you did it, I don't knock your work. Let me say that. I'm not knocking your work. I'm pretty sure we've all done things in our personal crafts that we say, hey, I wish we can redo those things. But that design wasn't for you.
Wasn't for us, was it, John?
It was
didn't represent.
It was
us.
Horrible. And at the end of the day, as business people, I almost look at that as a positive, because when you're presented with things and you're evaluating things, and you can look back in retrospect and say, we made the right decision. What was our head for a period of time in the wrong place? Yes, but ultimately, what decision did we make? I take pride in that, as I know you do as well. And and obviously you had the incident with Maurice about it, but that's what I'm saying. Maurice came with the truth, and the truth just is. That's what I love about it. And people who got the balls to deliver it in any circumstance, man, no one ain't ever going to hurt my feelings if they're coming with it, period.
Well, part of the reason why I'm we'll talk about friendship for a second, that I enjoy having friends like John Fosco and Maurice Claret, that I've both known you guys similar periods of time, like, because you guys have always operated that way. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you get in certain positions where a lot of people can say a lot of yeses, and it's good that I knew, John, even in the even when you was an agent and doing stuff for MP, like, you were still going to shoot me, true as all get out, not necessarily personally, but on the business aspects, because that's how our relationship was. And I've known Mo for so long that the same kind of thing. And so I just know there's certain people, when I go to them, I know what I'm going to get. And if I'm going to them for certain things, it's because really I already know I already know the answer, but I need to hear it from a motherfucker like basically John, Maurice, or Dustin. They always give me the fucking truth. So some people need that reassurance sometimes. So
It's halftime. Hey yo, it's halftime.
John, it's halftime. Look, that Nas beat gets me excited, makes me feel like a rapper. I was gonna rap about the stocks I bought. I don't. Nothing rhymes with Netflix though, John.
You want to rap?
Yes.
You want to rap?
Yes. Rap for me, John.
Rap battle. Yo, 1, 2, 1, 2. I bought Netflix about 2 years ago, and I sold it, and that was stupid. So today, I feel like Cupid giving you a Valentine's gift because I rebought it a year ago, and now I'm sitting pretty like a kitty cat. Cory, what you got to say about that?
That there was way more that rhymed on that
Yes,
freestyle than I
yes.
ever expected. I mean, that was pretty impressive. You went from kitty cat to fucking.
Cory, what you think about
I do.
that? I'm sitting pretty.
I have no rebuttal, except for if you would like to get your free share of Apple Ford or Sprint, you could go to our wonderful sponsor, Robinhood, at biceps.robinhood.com. That can help you redeem right there your free share of stock. Robinhood has no trading fees. I've been in and out of
None.
I've been in and out of a bunch of stocks over the last. I've been using Robinhood for 5 months, John. Like they just became a sponsor, but once I became aware of them, I've been using them. I moved all my shit from E-Trade. I know you moved all your shit from Scottrade. We went straight to Robinhood, and I get to mess around with the market. I only have a couple G in there, but I like to go in and out of some stuff. And because honestly, there's no fucking fees, I don't feel bad day trading or pre-market stuff. I mean, all that kind of stuff. It's like because I'm not paying $30 every time I trade something, John.
Exactly. I mean, exactly. And you guys starting out, well, Cory just made the point. He's not paying fees, so you can experiment with. I like this. You know, it's simple. It's a sell point, right? So if you buy a stock and you make 15% in a week, sell that stock. Get the feel for agile investing, and then go longer term in some other stocks. You can learn without paying trading fees, and just because you listen to Business and Biceps, they will give you a free share of Apple, Sprint, or Ford. Take hint, hint. And Cory, what is the URL one more time they go to?
It is biceps, BICEPS Robinhood, ROBINHOOD.com. I've sent this link out to all my friends, told them they must download it. They must get on board. That Robinhood is disruptive as shit. And that I mean, it's actually, and they have cryptocurrency starting on there very soon. I've seen it and added it to my dashboard. It's pretty fucking dope, straight up.
I mean, listen, guys, if you didn't go to that URL, which I don't know why you wouldn't, download the Robinhood app and you will feel the simplicity they bring to an otherwise sometimes confusing market, which is looking at the stock market and the tickers and this and that. They simplify it. So for a new trader, for a new investor, the experience is lights out.
Awesome. Hey, John, I was going through Snapchat last night and answering some questions, and this kid had hit me with a snap and said, "Hey man, like I love salmon, and I'm interested in using it in the diet plan, and obviously I would be shopping at Boston Sword and Tuna because they support the podcast. Like, could I eat salmon, multiple times a week?" And I said, "Yeah, motherfucker, I bought 10 pounds of salmon because I used the code BIZ, BIZ 15 on shop.bstseafood.com. Holler at my boy Mike Scola. Got me 10 pounds of salmon, and I'm eating that shit like 5 times a week now. Let's go."
You guys aren't going to find another man that gets on a boat every day at 3:30 in the morning when 25-foot waves are crashing into the Boston Harbor, dives into that harbor, grabs lobsters by the hundreds and swordfish and tuna and everything else. He grabs it with his bare hands. He throws it in the boat. He dives back down. He gets back out and he screams at the sky, "I am Mike Scola." Go to shop.bstseafood.com and you shall see me in all my glory.
Dude, you just painted Mike Scola like he's in a SpongeBob episode. Like,
maybe I did.
I mean, like he's right. Like I pictured like a sea of lobster swimming together as Mike's riding them at the same time. And then when he flies into the boat, he goes right to his smartphone and says shop.bstseafood.com. I mean, you can't beat it.
Right. Wait, 15%. And after all that swimming, guys, that takes a lot of energy. This man is still going to give you a 15% discount. Cory, Gregory. Some people know you as G. How do the listeners redeem that discount?
Yeah, when you go to shop.bstseafood.com, you put in the promo code BIZBIS15 and get 15% off. And you must do that today, especially if we have a lot of people that are eating healthy on the podcast. Lastly, John, why,
Yes.
John Fosco, should they
Yes.
build a stack at maxeffortmuscle.com? Why, John, should they build a stack today?
Okay, first off, we have the best Max Crispy treat. Some people call things protein bars. We have a Max Crispy treat that can take the place of a meal when you're working hard and you don't have time to go out to lunch for 45 minutes. You just grab a Max Crispy treat. It tastes fantastic. You get all your nutritional needs and you're like, my God, was I just cheating? No, you were not cheating. You ate something very nutritious. And then you sip on your post-workout. Oh my God, are my muscles getting more dense as I'm sitting at my desk typing? Yes, they are. Why? Because aminos, which are in our post-workout, they build your muscle fibers. They're like building blocks. And then you say, you know what? After work, I got to go work out, but I need a little energy. And then you take a little fresh mango pre-workout and you sound like me. And then you go get PRs on every lift. And that's a stack. And you get a free t-shirt too. Any shirt you want. That's why, Cory.
I love it. Hey, here's the deal. You know what? Out of necessity, everybody is using multiple products. And I used to think, John, what in this perfect world, if you could mix and match any 3 products.
Oh my God.
And you get a free t-shirt for $100. Or I'm awesome. I need to mix any 5 products. Five products and get a free t-shirt for $160. And if you could just go to this magical place at maxeffortmuscle.com and make that happen, it would be amazing. All right, let's go back to the show.
It's halftime. Hey yo, it's halftime.
All right, I think this one's going to be real good. I'm excited. Loyalty is kind of the next thing that pops up, and I think it's so undervalued. It's so it's starting to lose its pop. I think today I've seen it multiple times, but I think that I'm loyal to a fault at sometimes. But I think there's a distance of loyalty between a fault and just being a loyal cat that's really important to your team, whether you're a coach, whether you're a businessman, or whether just your friends in general. And I think that that's one thing that I don't know if people talk about enough. But John, I've heard you speak on loyalty before off air, so I can't wait to hear what both of you guys got to say on this topic.
Yeah, I mean, straight up, with loyalty, if you don't make others feel that you are loyal as a leader, you have absolutely nothing. You have nothing. And what I want the listener to grab is, from an opportunity standpoint, in this economic or this business climate, loyalty and service, but I won't get into service right now. Those 2 things are lacking so severely in the business world. It's unbelievable. So by simply making people feel and believe that you are there for them, that you will take their call, that you have their back, that you have their best interest in mind at all times, not only through your words, but through your actions, will get people to not only follow you, but support a greater cause, right? A business is a greater cause. You are never going to get good employees that work hard and work towards a common goal if they do not believe their leaders are loyal to them. And when the business gets to the place that the leaders always say it's going to go to, that they will be taken care of, right? You have to be loyal to everybody. Without it, you're a fucking liar. And you should not be making promises or guiding anybody. Loyalty to me is non-fucking negotiable, period. Handoff to number 13.
Hey, that's the guy I want to hand it off to, motherfucker. Go ahead, Reese. I love it.
I was like, I wish there was a signal. I would have told him to keep on going. You know,
You want some more? You want some more?
because I tell you like this, I don't. So the anatomy of loyalty has like, I was asking myself like, where do you even enter this conversation because it's so big, so relevant. I don't know even where to start and end, and that says a lot because there's so much to say.
Is Maurice
You know what I'm
Claret
saying?
lost for words?
I'm lost for an entry point.
Yeah.
Most of the times when I talk, like, so, you know, even when he was talking about just loyalty, it just had me thinking about just who an individual is as a person, you know, and it made me jog my memory into people having circumstantial loyalty, you know, are people being loyal to what you for, you know, what you can do, you know, and somebody's circumstantial loyalty. And I know this doesn't have anything to do about leadership and loyalty, but this is just the word loyalty, and it's the spirit that I'm in. So I'll fucking talk about it, right?
Yep.
And basically, you know, a person posing as a, you know, Cory, you know, me and you are the best of friends, but the fake loyalty is only derived from, hey, I think I can make an advancement off of you. And not being, and this is why I love this so much, like Cory and John, I don't think any of us need anything from anybody.
Nope.
And I think that you can start a real friendship from people just liking to be around people and being loyal to the friendship or the bond that you create and the integrity that you have between the people. And that sort of starts loyalty. Loyalty is not like, you know, every time my guy goes to the club, I'm with him, or if a fight breaks out, I can stick up for him so I can be his guy and he can take care of me, or, you know, let me hang around John because he's at every UFC fight and he gets to meet, you know, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G guy, and I get to be next to him, or Cory, let me come and hang around with you because I feel like I can make a personal advancement. And none of those things are wrong. Those things are just wrong when they have bad intention, or that's the intention on why you're connecting with that individual. And I think I don't want to call it a lost art because there are good people in America, and I'm a good person, and there's a lot of good people in America. But you know, when you have people whose intentions, and you spoke about that earlier, Cory, when their intentions are in the wrong place, and that becomes the connector, and then I begin to serve you or to act like I'm something that I'm not for the purpose of advancement. And when that advancement or those favors or whatever you're doing for them stops, and then they say, fuck you, then it's like, man, you know, I've wasted a lot of time dealing with you because we've been functioning in this illusionary space where, you know, nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. You know, unloyal people, that's like unreal. And to know that you don't have a tremendous amount of time on this earth and to waste it with people and not waste, you can learn. There's a lot that you can learn from situations that don't work out how you foresee them working out. But you know, I don't know. Like I said, we can have a whole podcast just on that.
I got
Go ahead.
two things, Reese, I want to ask you because that pop up to mind for me. First off, do you remember the first thing I said to you when we just started like hanging out or working out? To that point you just said.
Yeah, we don't need shit from each other.
Yeah, I said that.
You don't need nothing from me.
I said that exactly too. I said, Reese, I don't need anything from you. There might be people out here that are going to try to jump on this or that. What I'm at the gym at 5 a.m. You're welcome to come, and I can help you, but I don't need anything in return. Like, there's no expectations here. That was the first thing I said to you, and that was the truth, right? Because of what I had going on, it didn't matter. But I knew that together as a relationship, being in Columbus, there'd be things that would come from it, but that's just a plus, right?
Yes.
Secondly, is there a street version of this, Reese, that I can't identify? Maybe John can. John got some like mafia cousins, so maybe he could speak on that. I'm just playing, but maybe he does. But is there some street stuff, loyalty that applies to business, or is it different? Like, I just think that there's a lot of people that would like to hear some
I
insight
think
on
it
that.
applies.
No, it's
it
the
is the
same
same
thing.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it does, but I want to hear it from you, Reese.
No, I mean it's just the same thing. But oh my God, this is the funny thing. I said, I talk to my guys all the time, right? And I talk to guys in prison. I talk to guys, who got out of prison, guys who are in the streets, and you're trying to get them to transition to the corporate and legal world. And I say, my man, this is the same thing as the streets, and y'all don't know it. And I say, just the language is different and the consequences aren't the same. So if a person is disloyal in the streets, you can fuck them up. Or there's a violent element to it, or people get killed, or family members get hurt, or money gets taken, or people are robbed, or those are the consequences of it in the street world. And oftentimes when a person's unloyal, and rather there's a guy sleeping with another guy's wife because this guy has more money than her boyfriend, or whether or that happens a lot, or a person, he ends up getting drugs from somebody, or he gets drugs from his partner. He's supposed to pay his partner back some money, and he runs off and he just disappears. He's a guy with no integrity and no loyalty. He was only there for the money, and that's what ended up coming from the same situation. But you can parallel those same situations, and the street is just the environment. The corporate world is the environment, but the bottom line is just the behavior. And let's go back, the integrity of the person. Integrity and loyalty are kind of like tied at the hip, if you really want to say it, because if I'm a person of integrity, and whether I'm a piece of shit or whether I'm a great guy, and I tell John I'm a piece of shit, at least I have integrity in being a piece of shit. I don't mind advertising myself that way. But if I tell John, this is me, I'm a good guy, I pay my bills on time, and A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, and I just make a laundry list of things that I would identify as a good guy, and I stick to that, then he can trust me. And I know I'm scattering in a few different areas.
Do you think the integrity and loyalty are, because here's kind of like when Cory brought up the street, like the word absolute came to me, right? Like the street, when it comes to loyalty, it's absolute, right? If you fuck up on that tip, exactly.
You could die straight up.
You're going to get a broken bottle to your neck. You're going to get a screwdriver to the back of your head. You're going to get beat down by 10 guys. It is absolute, right? And you can have loyalty in the street out of fear, but integrity, right? Integrity, I don't know if that ties into, let's say, street loyalty, because the things that are dictating that loyalty have no integrity in them. So I guess
it's a point. Yeah, I like that, John.
Hey,
John's trying to throw it at you, Reese, right now. No, that's true though, because that's that environment is not an integrable. Is that what the word was?
It just has no integrity. Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
No. So to his point, he's saying he's going fundamentally, like he's moving to the spiritual space.
Yep.
The fundamental foundation of this thing has no harmony, humanity, or goodness in it. So there's nothing that can come good from something that isn't that wasn't originated in good and humanity, and to help and assist like mankind. Mm-hmm. Is that sort of? Or am I getting you wrong?
That's exactly it. So
yeah,
when you made that comment, I just wanted to clarify like where you were at, because I think the best thing about this show is the exchange of ideas between three people from three different backgrounds. So I just wanted to explore that with you, and I think the point you just made does make sense. Yes.
There might be a guy that has street integrity, like, okay, if the QP's moving through, he knows he's going to bring his money, but that's not rooted in like in a quality space. So
no, right. I mean, but it's fake, and it's really like CB4ish. You know what I'm saying? It's when you leave the streets and you look back on it, and you look back to why you were so like I'm throwing up the quotation marks with my fingers, like why you were loyal to something is all like is fantasy land, Hollywood land.
Right.
You know, and I do believe with John, and I will say this: a lot of this stuff is just rooted in so much foolishness and negativity and bullshit, and it's really rooted in nothing. You know, and I'm not like this isn't like the stop the violence campaign or stop the street campaign, but the truth of the matter is that, you know, some of the good things that happen in the streets is that the behaviors and the actions of others, those things are real and pure. And when you transition to a different space in life, when you transition to corporate America, that behavior, it doesn't change. You know, people are people, behavior is behavior. It's easier to spot because you become conditioned to see how people get squirmish, or how people begin to ask for things,
Right.
or how dependent people become. You begin to, all of those nuances exist in the streets, but you just don't know how to categorize them when you come to corporate America. And that's really like why a lot of guys stay, because they don't understand it. It's the same behavior. It's the same thing. Like, you know,
It's just a different game. It's just a different game, right? Because in corporate America, the equivalence of getting your throat cut is the executive who smiles at you, says you're doing a great job, and then lets you go in 1 hour.
Yep.
Sure, they're not taking you out, right? They're not killing you, but they're smiling at you, and then they're assassinating you.
Metaphorically, they still are, John, right?
Yes. It's the same thing, but the game is different, and you got to learn how to play it.
Yes. So here we go, John. I was making a speech, and I was in Indianapolis, and I forget the name of the high school. So these kids, obviously, you can tell how they were dressed up and the amount of coolness that they had on them, how they wanted me to perceive them. And we were talking about stuff. Like, we were talking about the streets. We were talking about everything. And I was like, you know, you don't even realize, you know, you want to look like you're a drug dealer. Like, everybody has this fantasy to be seen or perceived as a big time drug dealer. Like, the crime world, like, everybody loves it till it's time to get in trouble, right? So fun to look at, right? But it ain't fun to go through, right? So I tell the kids, I say, man, do you understand you can change your life and you have the skills? You say, okay, we hustle, we sell drugs, right? Because that's the cool thing. But I say inherently that's entrepreneurship. You're trying to buy a product for as low as possible. Right. You're trying to find an end user to sell it to. You're trying to keep the product good. You're transporting it logistically. You're making sure who has it. You know,
your margin
is it
right?
in the car? Is your margin right? How will you allocate your capital? That's how you grow your business. That's how you buy more product. You know, the more you buy, the cheaper the price that you get. Distribution. Products are all about distribution, making sure margins are right. Then you have to trust the integrity of the vendor. You know, you call them a vendor in this space, but these are just your distribution sites, your trap houses, or whatever you want to call them. And you set yourself up in operation, and based upon the money coming back in and the basically retention of the customers, and you scale it. My man, it's the same thing.
It is.
And it's the same thing. And like when you start breaking it down, like, and so when I said it, the principal was like, "Oh, I get it, but no." And I said, "Yes. That's how entrepreneurship has been brought to these kids. And whether you like it or accept it or not, that's what they understand. Now, if you can replace and take that product and put it there and say, hey, instead of selling weed, find out what other people want that you like, and you buy that.
Right.
And you find out how to source that, and you buy it as cheap as possible. And how people will this person use this a lot? Okay, if they'll use it a lot on a continual basis, that's how I build my business. If I have a service, it's just duplicating those services, but owning the company who has the service. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so,
hey, and Alibaba's the motherfucking weed man. Like, look.
No, what the one thing that I would say, like, I totally agree with the structural description you provided, but the one thing that I believe you talk about the kids you were speaking to need to understand is they can take that entrepreneurial spirit that is the street, and they just need to learn the behavior and the professionalism to transfer over in the real world. And if they're a hustler and they're killing it, they could be a hustler in the real world if they just learn the behavior and the professionalism. I think that's
John,
the missing piece.
I was listen to me. I can probably come through this microphone and hug you. 100% for me. That is the hardest thing.
Yeah.
Being the behavior that you have to get rid of. Why do you think I listen to classical music? And the mentality that you're shredding and being a professional. I promise to you, John, this is why I love this place. Listen to me. I went to my closet. I would take a picture and post them on Instagram. I went to my closet and everything that didn't make me look like a professional, I put it on the couch and I'm throwing it out. Every piece of music that I've been listening to lately, if it doesn't make me a better individual to be who I want to become, I've thrown it out, right? Or I have not chosen to listen to it. Right. What you are talking about, what you hit on right there, the constant working on the behavior that keeps you into that street space and the constant professionalism that you're trying to display and how you act and how you present yourself in every situation is the absolute hardest thing. Right. And if you can get that right, the actual stuff that you do is just business, and that's business, right? But the like you say, the behavior and the professionalism, 100% spot on factual information that you just gave.
Hey,
right there.
What's funny is, Reese, you haven't came here one time without like a polo on. And it's not, you know how I dress, you know how John dresses. I don't give a fuck if you wear a polo or a wife beater or whatever, but I've noticed that about every time you've been here to do the podcast, you got your polo tucked in, you're ready to go.
Here we go. So I go to the banks after I'm done here. I go to the post office. I go to the grocery store. I go to the car wash. I go to pick my little girl up from school. I go to all of these environments, and how people perceive me is important to me now. Not how they think about me, but how they perceive with me, because their perception will be based upon how they engage with me. If I'm a professional and they engage on a professional level, it becomes, oh, what are you doing? What are you into? Not, hey, I remember when you stripped the fucking football. You feel where I'm coming from?
Or Reese, what they straight up, what they remember from when you were being locked up, like seeing you in handcuffs, like that's perception that you constantly are trying to, work past, even if it hasn't been the truth in better part of a decade, right? I mean,
but like this, but here we go. It's beautiful. So I used to run away from that stuff. Like, oh fuck, that's not me. Yeah, I did all of that shit, right? But all the shit that I'm doing now, I'm doing that too. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And understanding that the choices made at the time that they were made sense at the time based upon how I was living.
Yep.
And so I'm not apologetic, but I'm not proud of every choice that was made, but I make sense of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it made sense in that moment to do it. I did it. That's who I was based upon my environment, my circumstances. But I'm not hiding from that shit anymore. But there is a possibility for a person to grow. That's what I teach and preach and go to people. And I say, hey, it's fucking possible. Look at me. Not that I'm a perfect individual, but you can evolve from the person that you currently are right now into something else, because it's not like life is like, I'm 34. It's not like life is going to end at fucking 40. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and on that tip, Mo, when you talk about, you can evolve, I'm a firm believer that there is nobody on this planet that isn't evolving in some way, shape, or form every single fucking day, whether they know it or not, until the day they die. So evolution, mentally, spiritually, psychologically, is part of the human experience. Now, it's up to us, the direction we choose to evolve to and what we deem important and beneficial to us. But listen, you're going to evolve either way. You're going to evolve into a better drug dealer, or you're going to evolve into, you know what, that's in my past. I want to become a professional, and then I want to become a better professional. Or in our cases, we're businessmen. We want to take that next step and be, nationally known businessmen. It's all what you want, man. And once you know what the fuck you want, you just keep going that route. Hey, listener, you are evolving today, whether you know it or not. So get focused on it and take yourself in the direction you want to go.
John, I read this also. All thoughts take form on some level. Everything that you think about yourself, everything in your car, in the gym, at work, all of those thoughts that you have going through your mind will take form on some level. And just remember that you have conscious choice to choose whatever you want to. So if you just want to become an aimlessly thoughtless, wandering type of individual, that's what your life will become.
Yeah.
And I know we're not there right now, but I'm just trying to build on to what you're saying. But I personally, like, you have a choice every day that you fucking wake up to be who the fuck you want to be. And the discipline you implement on your life allows that thing to become easier. When you become a bitch and don't want to implement discipline in your life, you will get exactly what an undisciplined life looks like. I don't care if you read the Torah, the Bible, the Quran, any spiritual thing, it all comes back to discipline. Discipline allows you to do every fucking thing else. The disciplined life, the simple life is literally how all of this stuff is birthed. And I don't know, that's just my 2 cents on what you were saying.
And if you know you need to make a change, which I know almost everybody in some way, shape, or form in their life believes they need to make a change, you fucking make the change now. There is no better time to make a change that you know you need to make than now. There will never be a better time, because if you keep putting it off, you are taking a part of your life and your existence and your being, you're taking it away from yourself. So if the change needs to be made, let's sack up, right? Let's get some courage and let's make the motherfucking change. Literally. Guys, this is a community. For real. Let's do it.
Based off of that, John, the last point I want to make, and this is perfect off of what you just said, is in leadership, you have to have a decisiveness. You have to make sure that when you make the decision for your team, whether you're the coach, whether you're the businessman, the CEO, president, whatever your role is, or of your squad at the gym, decisive people will, if they have all these other traits, will get the support and the following. And I think that, when people waver at the top, it doesn't give any confidence. It doesn't give any confidence to everybody else that's helping out. So start on that, Johnny, based off what you just dropped.
Yeah, listen, man. If you are wavering at the top, you're going to look down. You're going to look down, and there's going to be nobody to catch you, man. Because if you're wavering as the leader of the ship, why the fuck would I get on that ship, sail across the ocean with you if you're not sure that there's land and we only got so much food? I'm not doing it. I'm getting off the boat. I'm jumping in the fucking rowboat. I'm paddling back to fucking Mexico, dude. Like, a leader has to be steely and resolute when a decision is made, and he has to be able, or she has to be able, to look in the eyes of the followers, the employees, or whoever it may be, and tell them that what we are doing has a purpose. This is why we are doing what we're doing, and this is how we are going to get to our destination. And when you look in that leader's eyes, you have to know this motherfucker ain't playing. Oh my God, this motherfucker believes that we're going to accomplish this goal that's 400% of what we did last year. He fucking believes it. And every day he walks around and everything he does is connected to that goal. Shit.
Oh,
I believe it.
Brick wall right now, John Fosco.
Yeah,
I'm on hype, dude. Let's go.
I believe it. I fucking believe it. It's like if the dude at the top who has all the risk, right? Who everybody has to follow, who has to make the decisions, is unwavering. Everybody below will follow suit.
Straight talk. Reese.
Yeah, he was high wire with that one, right?
Because it's the truth, right?
It's the truth, my brother, and I'll land this plane relatively easy. I really believe, and just pay attention to relationships, pay attention to women. Women are real indecisive. Pay attention. That sounds bad.
Clean that up, Reese. Clean that. hey, on the real though, listen, I'm gonna help you out with this one, Reese, for a second. I'm gonna let you think about that, and you come back to that point and make it better. Listen, so hey, one of the things that I'm gonna get this cleaned up for you. One of the things that this is what your brother does for you right here. So look, this is a big thing at my house, at the Gregory house, right? I'm
jump in the pool.
Hey,
Cory.
I got you, boy. So look, I'm one of the ones that like I make a decision where you want to go to eat. Boom, we going to Mexican. That's my dude, right? But hey, but what about this? I'm very decisive in things that like that, because I don't believe it's a lot of wasting time on small decisions. Now, Rachel, on the other hand, is the complete opposite. There is a lot of females that are that way. Not all of them, but some of them are that way. In my experience with the one I spend the most time with, which is my wife, Rachel, she is. So we waver on decisions that I think waste time. She can tell I get fucking annoyed by it. And she's like, well, wait, I got to think of that. They just process, at least Rachel processes things much different than me. And so I get, so that is like a major thing at my household. So.
Okay, let me be specific. I'm glad you jumped into the pool with me, right? So I'm referencing my lady, I'm referencing my mother, and I'm referencing a lot. So we work with a lot of women out of, we got over 130 people. I would say over 100 maybe women, right? So I'm with them, around them all the time. And like you say, there's just a lot of options that they deal with when decision making comes up that necessarily men don't deal with. And I know that's a different subject, so I won't go down there. Sorry, Rachel, I'm not with Cory on this one. And
you don't listen to the podcast, so I'm all right.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Go ahead.
But what I was saying was that, and I just wanted to be easy because John had just I think he kind of hit the nail on the head. But having the ability to make a decision and be decisive brings direction to your life. And I can't say that any clearer. Like, you're just not in the idle space. You're not aimlessly. It's like, this is the decision that I'm making. This is what I'm with. And this is where I'm going. And so now everything that I do that day, or everything that the team does that day, everybody clearly understands they have this defined thing that they're following or they're moving towards, right? And like you say, and I thought about food when it's me and Ashley, and something comes up, what do you want to eat? There's 50,000 options. No, I've learned to quit making myself frustrated. Just make the decision. And when you make the decision and you become repeatedly with making decisions, like, you don't waste a whole lot of time. You're not trying to figure things out for 55 hours, and you have more control, but you're comfortable doing that. And just a takeaway from that, I just think that people would start to live a more purposeful life, just understanding how to be confident in making a decision and not second guessing yourself. And like, even if you're not a decisive person now, just starting to, even in small things, become more decisive with how, like, even it sounds small, but where do I want to eat? And being decisive about that makes sense. How I want to live my life. And like last week, what we talked about, being intentional, like being decisiveness and being intentional is kind of like the same thing. Like, I'm decisive about what I want to do. So everything has intention behind it. And really all this stuff wraps into just the character of a man. And how do you build yourself up as a man? How do you build yourself up as a woman? How do you build these pillars inside of you that make you up into who you are? Like, like back in fucking Mortal Kombat days, right? They if you fucking you know what I'm about to say. So if you got like the character and he get ready to fight, they'd be like, oh, his stamina is 78 and his fucking power is 75 and his speed is 22. You know what I'm saying? And to make him a better player, he goes through and he has different experiences and he earns points to basically become like a better fighter. And I think life is like that same way. Like, you have these different things that make you into a human being and a fully functional human being. And it's integrity, decisiveness, is what we talked about earlier. The first thing, it's enthusiasm, all of those things. But each moment allows you to get better and to fill up your low power level, so you're able to go out here into the world and just function like a fucking superb human being. And I think that's the nature of this podcast. Like, what can you come in here and get and apply to your life? that makes you function better. I know when I'm sharing this information, I might be talking shit about my girl behind her back, but I'm sharing this stuff for somebody to say, okay, how can I take this and apply this to my life and make me
Here's the way
better?
I explain it. Listen, if you're wavering, that to me, that's more stressful. I think it's way easier to say, motherfucker, I make this decision and I'm good with it. And whatever happens, I figure out if it didn't work, I figure it out. If it does work amazing, figure it out. Like, this is the way I process when I left MP to start new stuff. I got up that day. And if I look at all these things we went over, I went through that laundry list of stuff. I didn't like what was happening. I didn't like maybe the integrity of this or the leadership of that. And I said, you know what? I'm going to make the decision. And that's it. And I shut it down and I move on. Like, I think that being decisive in life situations or the small situations we've spoke about, that makes, I think, a lot things a little bit more like, they're just not as wishy-washy. It's like, boom. Yeah. Look, hey, we both, John and I, we go through a different, like pineapple. We're working on a pineapple pre-workout. Boom, we tried it twice. Bang, that one's good. Boom, it's done. Let's get it in production. Like, we might have had 1 or 2 or 3 tastes, but when we know it's good, we're not going to overthink it times 4. We could have went 4 more rounds, but no, boom, it's good. Next. Like, just making decisions in business and moving on. And then, look, if shit doesn't work, you figure it out. Like, you got to figure it out anyway. It might as well be decisive and go. I don't know. I just think people like motherfuckers that make real decisions and go. Yeah. They don't like people that are wishy-washy. I just think that's the truth.
Yeah. The one thing I would say on decisiveness that I don't want to confuse the listener on is speed, right? Speed of a decision. Because being decisive... Yeah. Being decisive is making your decision and being resolute with it and following through on it. But like speed of a decision isn't necessarily decisiveness, because you do have to take into account information, research, and all these other factors. So
that's good.
That's good that you brought that up, John.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I just don't want people to be like, oh, okay, I got to make it quick. No, you don't have to make it quick. But
you got to make it, though.
When you make it, be steely, be resolute, and fucking kill it, and just follow it, man.
I think a really good one to kind of end with story-wise is John, I would love for you to tell the story of how, almost making the decision in a way as a group, me and you, to add Maurice to the team, because we were trying to involve him in one nature, and then what happened. I just think that'll be a great story so people know how this happened, and then we can wrap it up.
Absolutely. So first off, I'll open it with my bottom line as a human being. The most important thing to me in life is trying to be a better person every day. So I'm going to open it up with that. Me, Cory, and Maurice were going to do a sports-related podcast that was very raw. It was very, very raw, and a lot of curse words. So I'm at home after we did a sample recording, and Maurice's special is ESPN 30 for 30, Youngstown Boys, came on TV. I never saw it in its entirety. I watched it in its entirety. And after I watched it, I got an understanding for somebody who I knew, but I wasn't like, oh, we're super close friends, but I got respect for. And it gave me a total perspective shift about how just me as a person would like to be interacting with this individual, the individual being Maurice. And I called Cory and I said, Cory, this sports show is really raw, and I understand what he's been through, the lows, the highs, at least from what I've seen on TV. I understand the business he's involved with now, the nature of kids and people recovering, and I just don't know if I'm comfortable participating in something that has a lot of curse-laced tirades. And I really believe, because our mission on Business and Biceps is to help young people and even people who are active in the business community now grow as individuals, that because of his experiences and because of his knowledge may be a better fit here. And I felt that in my heart, and I was not comfortable moving forward in a raw format with him because I didn't feel that was the right thing to do.
Yeah, and what I love about that, John, is that I wanted Maurice, just because I had obviously a longer previous relationship as a friend, involved some way. And it was like Business and Biceps as a business is rocking and rolling so well. And this is what the point I want to make is that no matter how many sponsors there were, what our ranking was, John, after seeing that, randomly the same night, by the way, which is eerie. So I always recognize and shit like that.
Not even randomly.
Yeah, it's not randomly, right? That's what I'm getting at. So that's when he said that, obviously made all the sense in the world. I was 100% decisive on, of course, as long as Mo's down and can record a couple, like, how could we lose by having a guy that has that much experience and insight? And since I met Maurice that day and said, Mo, like, I don't need anything from you. We can just be friends. I don't even care if we ever post that on social media that we're homies. It doesn't matter. Like, I just know this is a quality place for you to be, meaning the gym, and that I can help you with some stuff just because it would be cool. And I've wanted to be able to, as a friend, say, man, there's got to be a platform somewhere where my man can speak a little bit more, and so people can understand really, like, how articulate he is and the things he can, like, give help with a bigger platform in some manner. That's what I was trying to do. And honestly, the sports show wasn't it. And so I'm so glad that John, like, recognized that, saw that, and that we're at this point, because the podcast has, like, exploded literally since Mo's added to the show. It's challenged John and I to go deeper on a lot of stuff. And so I just think, like, people should understand, like, how this really happened. And I thought that was a good way to bring it up.
Yeah, Cory, I just want to say one thing real quick. And we talk about who you want to be, right? Like, who you want to be. Guys, here, everyone's listening is interested in business. Bringing a third party in, look at Business and Biceps like a band. Right? If you bring another member in, right, the money's going to spread around. That had absolutely nothing to do with mine and Cory's thought process, because it's about, again, the kind of person you want to be. And me and Cory shared the same vision. This person can add value. Ultimately, what is the intention of this show? To add value to the listener and provide the best possible experience with takeaways as possible. Okay, let's bring Maurice in because we know he has so much to give. And fuck the money. Fuck the money. It's not about the money. That's a part of it. But that was not how we made our decision, although it was involved. And that's what I want the listener to think about, man. It's like, yeah, this is business, but business decisions aren't made money, money, money. Sometimes it's about, people and what's best for them and what kind of person you want to be by making decisions accordingly.
And what's best for the listener.
I'll tell you two things, and y'all can close up. One, after we recorded the first few episodes, or 2 episodes, I think, or 1, I don't know, that feeling came up because I said, man, I deal with a lot of kids and a lot of raw format. Even though that was a part of me, I was like, I wonder how this will be perceived. Mm-hmm. For that to spiritually take place and then to get a call and then for that to be a concern, that let me know that the intentions right there are not just about, hey, your intentions are in the right place. But they become like, does this give this guy, does this put this guy in a funky space? Mm-hmm. Or does it put him in a space that he's removed from, or that wouldn't be a beautiful for kids to look at or to look up to, or for people to lead, or people that he's leading? That one thing. But then the second thing, I don't even think I think you think I was joking, right? When you said that your mother, had done a great deal with the Course in Miracles, and me, people see me, but I just believe like I'm just on a spiritual journey right now. Like I'm doing business, but this is just more about developing my spirit. I just think there's some sort of therapeutic thing that this microphone does for me. I think also challenging myself to speak more, to learn more, to do more, and to just get a deeper look at myself. But to record it over a period of time and to put it out to people, to have some sort of value. I think this has been the greatest thing, or one of the greatest things that's happened to me in 2018. And also, when I look back over what I've been doing since I've been released from prison, I'm happy to say I'm involved in this. This doesn't feel like a podcast. It feels like, a platform and a format where people can come and grow from, and you can keep feeding into something and people can get and grow from, and just a place for authenticity. And that's how I look at you guys. And like I say, I'm happy that y'all put me down with y'all and we can do this together.
Hell yeah,
dude. Absolutely. And I feel the same way. And the last thing I want to say is this, man. I want the listener to understand there's three fucking competitive guys that get together to do this podcast. All three of us have grown up winning at different things, but I hope I could speak for the three of us when I say, when we come together on this podcast, sure, each individual wants to bring fire for you, the listener, but ultimately it's not about John being the best, Maurice being the best, Cory being the best. It's truly about business and biceps being the best, because we're always going to be more powerful together. And I think a lot of people, in business and in life, they think me. Listen, if whoever steals the show, man, I'm happy to be a part of it because the show's climbing. And that's what I want you guys to understand. You always win when you have stronger team members. That goes back to Abraham Lincoln, a team of rivals, okay? So we're not rivals, but that means strong partners who will push you and challenge you. And I feel blessed that I have two incredibly strong people to share this experience with, and I'm thankful for that.
I'm gonna give you the Twitter response. Same. Try. Absolutely, John. I couldn't agree more. I think it's like, look, you guys don't hear off air. Before we was just on speakerphone talking about the show, how John was like, Maurice, you better bring it today. I've been reading it. I'm ready, motherfucker. That's the kind of stuff that goes on around the enthusiasm of the podcast. So look, I want to wrap it up and say, make sure you guys give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. Only a positive comment. You must subscribe. You want to share this with your friends, right? You got to share Business and Bicep with your friends. I need every one of you right now, straight up. Like, you just got done with this podcast. It was fire. Like, take this link, send it to your friend, tell them they have to subscribe. They must subscribe. That we're going to keep bringing it like this every week. And hey, you guys got to make sure and support the people that are supporting you, right? Shop.bstseafood.com. Our boy Mike Scola, he can send you swordfish, shrimp, lobster, salmon, scallops, halibut, steamers, tilapia, snapper, everything out of the Boston, straight up out the water to your house the next day, 10:30 a.m. Biz Buys, BIZ, 15 will give you 15% off on the store. Once again, it's shop.bstseafood.com, and you must download the Robinhood app. Check this out. I've been using Robinhood for a while. They allow you to trade without any fees. Right now, you can go to biceps.robinhood.com and then get a free share of stock so you can get a chance to mess around in the market. They give you either Apple, Ford, or Sprint. I would recommend. I know John would recommend.
And there's no fees, brother. There's no trading fees. You can't find that anywhere else. That's an industry disruptor. If you are putting your money in the stock market, put it in Robinhood. You do not pay fees. Game over, period.
Absolutely. And check out maxeffortmuscle.com. We will be at the Arnold if you're listening to this real time. It's going to be awesome. We got a bigger booth. We're dropping the Ronda Rousey line. We're going to have all kinds of shirts. We're going to have all kinds of stuff going on. Check out maxeffortmuscle.com for all your supplement needs. And at the end of the day, guys, I really enjoyed this podcast. Both y'all fucking crushed it. John Fosco, Maurice Claret. Can the podcast be stopped?
The podcast!
The podcast!
Can be stopped!
Yeah. Testing. 1, 2. 1.
Press the panic button, brother.
We be the crew. Guess who? The J-U-R-A-S-S-I-C. Where place to be. It don't stop. We got the rhythm that makes your fingers snap, crackle.